y'all might not like my take on this. They didn't let him talk. Like, they didn't. I don't think they let the president of Ukraine talk. Like, it's just, I don't think they went in there with a clear mind to let's just have the conversation. But that was my take. It was 2 against 1. That's not fair.
He didn't need to talk.
He didn't need to talk. You can't have the least amount of resources and think you can make the rules.
Didn't need to talk.
And they already talked.
Was he trying to make rules?
Yeah,
They
he was
had
there trying to
already
get more
talked.
material. He was there trying to get more lethal aid to keep fighting Russia. So, like, would you give your friend money and weapons to fight somebody else? And for how long would you do it?
Oh.
Not just that, he came in there with like a demanding type attitude, like you're gonna keep giving me money, because he was used to the, pussies we had in office last time who just kept giving him whatever he wanted. And therefore he thought he was gonna walk into this administration and make those same demands. And of course he had to FAFO.
Yeah, he ain't no victim.
Yeah.
The thing about it is just that if you're familiar, like if you deep dive into what's happening over there in Ukraine and between Russia and Ukraine, number one, for all of y'all liberals and all of y'all Democrats and stuff like that, they don't even fuck with y'all like that. They don't fuck with your culture. They don't rock with you. They don't believe in the same things that you believe in, that the Liberal Party represent. And so, what I see from a lot of people, honestly, is borderline treason. It's borderline, you hate America, you hate Trump, you anti-America, you anti-Trump, and you looking for any reason to side with an op, even if an op is completely different from your culture and they don't even respect the things that you respect. If you understood, and again, I always reference this, and I tell people a lot of times, I say, hey man, you need to go and look up the knife fight between the Ukrainian and the Korean. And it was on the front lines, and it was brutal. And it's on X. You can go and look at it on X. But it was one of the most brutal things that I've ever seen in my entire life. And people dying every single day because he want to have an arrogant attitude and you want to argue. Arguing is a privilege. That's something that you can do when you have leverage. That's something that you can do when the world is civilized. That's not something that you can do when your people is on the front line dying every day. Women is over there every day getting great. Every day they getting great. Guys is over there getting snatched up off of the streets because they don't want to fight. And so they hiding out from this administration, the Zelensky administration. And then ultimately they're being forced to fight and they don't want to. Win or lose, they're saying, we don't want to do this no more. Their own people are saying that they don't want to do it anymore. And you over here begging for resources and running around the world. Number one, we shouldn't even have been in this in the first place. It's not even something that we should have been funding. Secondly, this is Europe's problem. It's not even our problem. And then third, you want to come over here with a bad attitude and you want to go back and forth? What are we talking about? And again, I see so many people. I see people saying they stand with Canada, they stand with Ukraine, they stand with all of these people that's against the United States of America. Like I said, I think it's borderline treason. And it ain't nothing to talk about. I've never seen, first of all, I'm thankful that we even get a chance to peel back the curtain, because we've never seen an administration be this transparent in history, ever. Ever. We've never seen an administration be this transparent. So, I just think that the disrespect calls for them to have to do it on their own. I think we should leave them to their own devices, let them do it, cut off the spigot, don't give them no more money, and let them solve the problem on their own and see how they fly. See how it fare. I think that they've been grown entitled, just like some of the people that's in the United States of America, they've grown entitled. And that's what you've seen display, and that's what you've seen play out. But thank God we got masculinity into the office and we're not having that shit. I'm with it.
Does anybody disagree? Trey? You quiet, Trey. Be quiet.
I'm not privy to all of the Ukraine-Russia backstory. But last I looked, Russia invaded Ukraine. And if they were to continue and they take over Ukraine, then they could encroach upon our NATO allies, and then that would then cost us more money and more lives. So like I do believe in like preventative maintenance. So I think we did do the right thing to involve ourselves, but I mean, I'm not privy to all of everything going on, behind the scenes.
Well,
You mean the NATO that we pay over 85% into that we don't even need just because somebody called you? Listen, you know what the United States of America is? The United States of America is the equivalent of a woman putting you in their phone as food.
Wait, one more time? It's the equivalent of what?
Is the equivalent of a woman putting you in her phone as food.
Not the food.
That is what the United States of America is. We basically subsidizing the rest of the world when we broke.
Yeah, that's
we
crazy.
broke.
We're broke.
We're broke. We don't have no money for nobody else. But we subsidizing the rest of the world for what? Because they say that they are on our team, they're our ally, and we paying over 85% of what goes into NATO, and we don't get any benefit from it. What, tell me what the benefit of us doing the preventative maintenance is. And it's not even our problem, right? Because let's be clear, this ain't just this ain't America's money. This is our money. This is taxpayer money every single day.
There is some taxpayer money.
Help me to understand why it's beneficial for us to spend hundreds, if not trillions of dollars over a period of time, but certainly with the Ukraine situation, hundreds of billions of dollars to make sure that they over there and they can do whatever it is that they want to do. To a guy that was an actor. Let's be clear. Zelensky is not even the person that is not even the person that he presents himself to be. But
we can say the same thing about Trump.
For the sake of conversation, what does it benefit us to send them hundreds of billions of dollars?
To my understanding is, firstly, we didn't spend trillions of dollars. And
so over a period of time, we send trillions of dollars overseas in foreign aid and making sure that we take care of other countries. We absolutely, over a period of time, make sure that we subsidize other countries by sending them aid. 100%.
If you could put a source in to confirm trillions of dollars, I would love to see it. But to my understanding, it's nowhere near trillions.
Please don't deviate from the point.
Oh, no, I'm not deviating.
You keep bringing up different stuff that ain't relevant to the conversation. What does it benefit us to send them hundreds of billions of dollars?
Anton, you can't throw out something, and when I clear up saying what you said was false,
you're more than welcome to come back and add the additional context.
I can't do it when you keep interrupting.
Usually when somebody answers you a question, you say yes or here's the additional context. You're not answering the question.
I can't answer anything.
You can answer it as whatever you can say whatever you want to say. What does it benefit us to send hundreds of billions of dollars over to Ukraine?
To my understanding, it benefits us to put a battery in Ukraine's back, which then will prevent us from having to put boots on the ground.
Boots on the ground for what? Why would we put boots on the ground in Ukraine?
If Russia takes over Ukraine, they will infringe upon our NATO allies. And if they do that,
we would have to put boots on the ground. You're saying
they touch NATO, yes.
Boots on the ground.
If Russia touches NATO, yes, we would have to put boots on the ground.
Why would we have to put boots on the ground?
What would be the point of NATO if we didn't put boots on the ground?
We're pulling out of NATO. What are you talking about? We're pulling out of NATO.
Are we out of NATO now?
We should be.
That's not what I asked you.
No, we're not.
Okay. So,
but Trump has only been in But Trump has only been in
you're moving the goalposts.
Trump has only been in the office for 40 days. 40 days.
Okay.
Let's be clear. This is a new administration. We're barely a month out from January 20th in the inauguration. So please, let's not put that responsibility on this president that just came in.
Didn't do that. You're doing that. But this is the thing. What you just asked was, what's the point of preventive maintenance with something like that?
No, I said, what's the point of us sending hundreds of billions of dollars to Ukraine?
Right. To which I'm saying is, if we did not, and Russia just wiped through Ukraine, and then they were to infringe upon our NATO allies, then we have to respond with American lives.
Why isn't the rest of the world sending them money and taking care of them?
They are
being the number one benefactor. Because again, I look at this as I'm sending you money, and I'm taking you out, and I'm taking you to Benihana's and fucking J. Alexander's and Ocean Prime, and then you going home and you bringing a doggy bag to the nigga that's really fucking you. That's the way I look at it.
Well, I think that's fair for you to look at it like that. I think it's an incorrect way to look at it, but I get
How would
that.
you look at it?
I look at it
if you let's break it down, because I'm a C student. I'm slower than everybody else.
Hey, I'm a D
I'm not
student.
the sharpest knife in the tool shed. So if you was to break it down and use it as like a metaphor or an equivalent to what real life is for us every single day, I'll break it down to being a dude that's paying for a chick's food and don't get no pussy at the end of the night. You break it down like what?
I think it would be the equivalent of seeing your check engine light on and thinking like, well, I could spend some money to get my car fixed now, or I can wait to see what happens.
What?
And if you wait to see, if you wait to see what happens, then you could end up having total engine failure, and it'll cost you a lot more money versus if you just went and got your check engine light looked at initially. That's how I would.
But again, the car is supposed to get me to and from and help me to make more money and go to work and all of this other type of stuff. So
if it's in good shape, correct.
I don't wait. I'm trying to figure out what the equivalent is because the car is supposed to be beneficial. Now, my interpretation of it is you got a lemon, all right, and you're paying high interest rates on this lemon that we finance, and we finance it for 72 months. And we still owe a lot of money to it because we are part of this organization that we're not benefiting from. And we continuing to fight this proxy war, and we paying somebody else's car note.
Yeah, it's fine for you to put your interpretation on it, but it's not a lemon. It is your car.
Ukraine not a lemon?
No, Ukraine's not a lemon. No. In your opinion, you may say that, but
how does Ukraine benefit us? I'm still trying to understand it.
Okay, but that's not what you were asking. You asked for an analogy, and I gave
I
you.
did. We're sending. Listen, if I send somebody some money, I'm looking to get something back out of it. I'm trying to figure out, because see, don't just tell me.
I completely agree.
No, because there's a difference between we using each other, which means that it's beneficial for you and it's beneficial for me, but we both get something out of it. But don't just tell me I'm an ally just so you can take my money, because that's called being misused. It's a difference between being used and being misused. And so what I'm trying to understand is, what is the reciprocation? What do we benefit?
Well,
not how do I keep you from how do I keep you safe? I'm trying to figure out, because usually if I give you provision and protection, you got to bust it down for a real one at the end of the night.
Okay, got it. Wait, let me ask you this, and you tell me what you think here.
Right, Jess? No?
Anton.
Okay, I'm just trying to figure it out. I'm trying to bring it down to a way in which I can relate.
I get you, but here, think about it like this, and I don't know if this is how it went down, but you tell me what you think here. Okay. If Biden was approached by his cabinet members and they say, "Hey, Mr. President, if we send we send a large portion of our expired munitions, old tanks, stuff that we're going to have to pay to blow up anyway, if we send all this old stuff that really isn't of any value to Ukraine, it is projected that it could save us from having to put American boots on the ground." Would that be something we should do?
No, what I think, absolutely not. Now, what I think really is the equivalent, what really happens, and this is just my theory because neither one of us can prove it.
Right.
I think what really happens is that we're a part of the military-industrial complex. There's a lot of people on the liberal side that benefited from us going to war financially, and that it had nothing to do with us actually helping Ukraine. It's a proxy war, but it's also justification for how we can continue to enrich other people that we don't even know exist, honestly.
I don't disagree.
I think that we got finessed, and this don't benefit us whatsoever. And I think that Trump is smart enough to understand that we need peace, because there's no reason for us to continue to send money for a war, a never-ending war. We don't want to just be in war perpetually for the rest of our lives.
Would you acknowledge that it's a possibility that if we did not step up, Russia could have wiped through Ukraine, and they could have continued to wipe through other countries, which would have then cost American lives?
No.
You don't think if Russia touched a NATO country, what do you think we would have done?
Well, it depends on who was in office. If first of all, no, because you're doing a lot of what ifs. One of the things that Trump said, and one of the reasons why J.D. Vance emphasizes this a lot of times, is he speak about diplomacy. And diplomacy is And it's funny because the liberal media always tries to make Russia to be our enemy. And JD Vance correctly says that Russia is not our enemy, Russia is our adversary, meaning that we don't have to be aligned and have the same goals, but it doesn't mean that we have to be enemies. You understand what I'm saying? And what I've seen during the Biden administration is no diplomacy whatsoever, not even a conversation with Russia to end the war or to better understand how we can prevent it in the first place. And one of the things that I truly believe in Trump, because we've seen it in his first administration, is that we didn't have any new wars. So when you use your analogy and say, well, boots on the ground, that wasn't a possibility until Biden got in office in the first place. So if you want to talk about preventative maintenance or you want to talk about being proactive, then you'd have to acknowledge the fact that we had no new wars during Trump's administration. Yeah. And that didn't happen until Biden came into office, which I believe they incentivized it to happen and they wanted it to happen.
But that's sort of like revisionist history. That's all sort of irrelevant, saying like, what if this?
It's not, because if you're using the analogies and saying, well, what if?
No, let's talk about what happened.
The point that I'm proving is that the what ifs can be, if you want to say what if, and if you want to keep talking about being proactive, then you got to go all the way back to the beginning. And the fact of the matter is, we've been beef, or Ukraine has been beefing with Russia since Obama was in office. That's the facts. No war had taken place during Trump's first term in office, and it wasn't until we had a vegetable in office that's probably being manipulated, and we don't know who was controlling him in the first place, is that we then seen Russia then invade Ukraine, in which we probably could have prevented that, because it is great to have great relationships, even if they just your adversary and not necessarily your enemy. I think it's a plus that Trump has a relationship and can pick up the phone and actually call Putin, because don't nobody want to be in a forever war for no reason. That is the real way to prevent American troops from being on the ground. And it's a real way for us to prevent us continuing to send money and resources over to Ukraine.
But what would have been the way to prevent American boots on the ground when Biden was in office?
Having Trump in office.
Okay, but now you just did the what if. Now you just did the what if, which was obviously.
No, you asked me a question.
Right, but you what if the question.
No, I didn't.
Yes,
you said what would have been the way to prevent them from having boots on the ground and having Trump in office?
So you said what if? So basically saying what if Trump was in office. Okay.
So Trey, have you ever heard of the Warsaw Pact?
No, or heard of it, but I'm not familiar with it.
Okay, so the Warsaw Pact was between George Bush Sr. and Gorbachev, and they had their own agreement in regards of U.S. being part of NATO and endorsing or soliciting other countries close to Russia. So if you read that and understood that, you probably would understand why certain things are happening, why Russia is doing certain things that caused them to invade Ukraine. But I don't understand why people don't look into those things. They more know about Kamala and their 6 months of running for president, but they don't know nothing about other American history. I just don't understand.
I got one more question.
Right,
I got one more question. And I yield. And this is for Trey, because I know that he's a really smart guy. What's the benefits of us being in NATO?
The benefit, I presume, just for us to band against the other countries that could potentially fire on us, and we need to have allies, especially in the Middle East. I think that's one of the.
So you don't think the real benefit is one-sided from our quote-unquote allies, and it's not necessarily beneficial to the United States of America?
I think it's mutually beneficial. I think we have interest in a lot of different countries, and I think we have a lot of enemies in a lot of different countries. And I think that logistically it makes sense for us to have allies in Europe, especially if things pop off. I think it just makes sense.
So
I respectfully disagree, but I accept your answer.
Fair.
So what about the German? What about the German and the French and the English? They don't have an army to help out Ukraine?
To my understanding, they do.
So
it's a European.
Why is that not exactly? It's a European issue. So why is the States or North America getting involved in it?
Because we have allies and we back up our allies.
Hey, I'm a veteran, and I'm telling you, the only position that we got over there is sitting in Poland right now. Nobody's trying to go over there and fight.
The only what is in Poland?
The main position that the U.S. is sitting in for as far as the allied situation and proximity is in Poland. Like, yeah, of course they got some other assets or whatever, but this is a European problem. And when you mentioned the Warsaw Pact, which was really good to bring up, Ashton, really, if you got to go off the street, Russia's just really responding to having their land taken, because all of that NATO land, those countries used to belong to the USSR. So like during the Gorbachev and the tumbling of the East Berlin Wall and all of that stuff, that's what Russia's looking at. So imagine your land gets taken, just like the Native Americans, just like the Palestinians, just like any other person out there or any other ethnic group or country that has seen their land taken. That's how Russia's responding to this thing. That's why they invaded Crimea and they took over the active ports where they transport oil and stuff, because it's a logistics issue. It's money, it's tolls, it's ports, and they're trying to reset their economic footprint. And the other party, that's why they keep bringing up to them that you're not going to get the land back that you lost before 2014 when Crimea got invaded. Zelensky is not in a position to borrow weapons, arms, and military lethal aid to fight Russia to get his land back. So it's a lost cause. They've lost a long time ago strategically. And NATO is not NATO is for those countries that can't fight for themselves.